Alright, y'all. I got some next level mad scientist stuff going on right now. I'm gonna put my bait bottles out tomorrow. Change the cards and some of my game cameras. But I got some stuff. I'm fitting to mix some stuff up. I'm fitting to run some tests and stuff and see if there's any difference. May not be a bit of difference between anything I put in them. So what I got some old El Cheapo cat food. I think it's like $2. I got some lima beans, black beans, pinto beans. They the pintos. I've always heard, and I've always used lima beans. I know, they're slam full of protein and everything, but I got to looking at the nutritional information on the back, and all these have the same protein value. So I'm not sure which one is going to have, the best taste in the world. I've eaten lima beans. I don't think I've ever eaten black beans, but I've eaten pinto beans. Pinto beans pretty good. Y'all bear with the rain. It's raining. Alright, and I got some old-fashioned oats, just El Cheapo oats, and of course, peanuts. I'm going to mix some of this with corn. Some of it I'm going to leave alone. We'll see how it goes. Once I get stuff kind of mixed up, we'll kind of go, because I'm not really sure myself how I'm going to do it, but we're going to see. Okay, I'll show you how I make the little small bait bottles, what I do to make them to where I can use them. First thing I do is I'm going to drill, in the cap, I'm going to drill a hole right here. And that's going to allow the string to pass through like so. Okay, I'll tie a knot on this end, and that's going to hold the bait bottle. I screw this onto the bottle and it hangs there like this, like so. Now, on the ones that I hang, I drill a hole in the bottom, and it's just big enough, right, I don't know if you can see, it's just big enough to where when it's full or when it's got contents in it, what it'll do is it'll hold the pressure on that, and the only way that you can get any food out of it is either hitting it or pushing the food back up or whatever, just to get a little bit out at a time. So I got a little bitty hole right there. I'm going to do, in this particular one, I filled up, I made this little bottle, I put it slam full of just oats. Just like Quaker oats is all it is, just oats. And I did the same thing, put a hole right there. Can y'all see it way down here? Alright, so I put the hole right there for the lid, and that's where the rope, or the rope is going to go through. And I made a hole in the bottom just big enough for the oats to come out of. If you hit it, it'll sprinkle some out. One of these, I'm going to put the oats in. Another one, which is just like this one, see they're both the same, I'm going to put just peanuts in. And I think this one I'm going to put cat food in. Yeah. So, and the big one, now the big one's different. The big one's different. I'll do the same thing. I'll drill a hole in the top here, in top of the lid, so the rope can go through there, tie a knot just like it is. But this one lays on the ground. This one lays flat. And what I'll do is I'll cut me a bigger hole on the side, because it's not going to be, I'm sure y'all have seen them, it's not going to be hanging up. And the only way that you can get anything out of the hole is just big enough on the side here for a coon or whatever to reach his hand in there and get him some come out. But if a deer wants it, he's got to push it around a little bit to get it knocking. Or I've seen them take their nose and stick it under this end and lift it up, and when it falls back down, a little bit of food pops out of it and they go to eating it then. When I get this one done, this one right here at this particular side, I'm trying to do it side by side by side by side. And this particular one is going to be the bean and corn medley. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to put a little pinto beans in there, a little bit of black beans in there, a little bit of, where you going? Lima beans in there, and a little bit of corn in there to mix it all up. So once I get it finished, I'll show you how you know, what it looks like and everything. But this particular one, this is going to be at the that first site that I always have a lot of action where the coons were fighting at that time. I don't know if y'all remember that or not. But I'm anxious, really anxious to see what's going on, because we went over there on this next game camera, on this next trip over there. Quit falling. And all the bottles were tore slam up. So something did that. I got a pretty good idea what did it, but we're gonna see. I'm gonna get this one done, and like I said, tomorrow I have all my bait bottles filled. All I gotta do is go over there and put them out, change cards, and come back and see what's on them. Once I get this one done, I'll check it out. I'll show it to you and let you see, and get a better way to hold this stinking camera up. Okay, this is the bean medley, I guess. It's got, like I said, it's got some black beans, lima beans, pinto beans, and corn. So we're gonna see how they like this stuff. This one I just cut the same hole in the top, just like normal. I cut a big hole around here in the side. Because like I said, it's just big enough for a coon's hand to get into, or it's big enough for when a deer hits it or something like that. Enough feed to fall out so they can eat on it. I topped it off with a little bit more corn. Alright, we're going to see how this works. I'm kind of anxious to see how it's going to look next week. That's the only bad thing. I've waited the whole stinking week. Like I said, this one will lay on its side. I drilled some little vent holes. Yeah, only y'all probably can't see them little vent holes. So if moisture builds up in there, it has some place to vent. That's how I do it. I do some sort of concoction at different places and different times just to try to do a little experimenting. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, this is how it is before I tape it up and before I fill it anything. You see the little holes right now, the vent holes that I got all around on the side. I don't put any on here because it's going to roll back and forth like this. So I put them on the ends of the side, like this. You know, the only bad thing about this stuff is none of this stuff that I put out has any kind of attractant. I have to add an attractant to it. Some either like cat food or strawberry syrup or something that has some sort of smell. The only bad thing about it, when I'm talking about cat food, I'm talking about the wet cat food, the old fishy, stinky, fishy stuff. The only bad thing about it, that's got a sharp edge there, is that it draws dogs and stuff too. I mean, that's the only bad thing. I need some frankincense. Or myrrh. Kind of reminds me of when Alexander the Great was a boy. He had a tutor whose name was Leonidas, not Leonidas the Spartan guy. The king of the Spartans. King of the Spartans. This is Sparta. He had a tutor named Leonidas. Like I said, not that guy. And one day, Alexander, when he was a boy, was making an offering to the Greek gods and everything, and he used too much spice, and Leonidas kind of scolded him a little bit for it. Told him, said, you used too much spice for your offering. He said, when you conquer the world and you can afford all the spices in the world, he said, then you can use whatever you want to, but until then, don't use any more of it. Now, he was just being jovial now. So, I mean, you all know the story. Alexander the Great conquered the known world at the time to him. And when he captured Giza, which was kind of like the spice hotbed of the world. I mean, that was their claim to fame, is they was able to not only make a lot of spices, they were able to hoard a lot of it. So when he finally conquered Giza in Egypt, he sent back 18 tons of frankincense and myrrh. Sent it back to Leonidas. Told him, said, thanks for the inspiration. He said, from now on, you got 18 tons of frankincense and myrrh. Don't be a cheapskate. You see, when he was a boy, his daddy, Philip the Great, was in charge of Macedonia. And he was a great conqueror himself. So he said, don't be such a cheapskate. Now you got 18 tons of frankincense and myrrh.